So what we have here is a failure to communicate. I don't know if you can see me. Ah, he ain't missing nothing. Okay. So anyways, yeah, I know I didn't show the balancing, but I got some other engines to do, so I'll show it. But it's kind of a long, boring process. So what I'll do on the next one is I'll just run it down. I think we're going to leave Tommy's crank the way it is, budget, but it felt okay to me. So, you know, and like it has, checking a crank out has nothing to do with, or not much to do with side to side play. Okay, like you should have about 30 thou clearance in there, side to side. As far as the crank pin bearings go, it's just like the cam followers I was showing you. There's nothing. We don't want nothing there. So, but this is a Sillycone engine, Mr. Sillycone engine. So what I did was, Mother has the other flywheel, but that Sillycone destroyed it and destroyed the pinion on that other flywheel. It just everything was fucking crazy. So I used another flywheel, of course, a single key pinion that matched up and everything else, and I just got this thing trued in. So I'm within a thou on each flywheel, a little less on both of them actually. Let's see if we can see it. Let's see here. Now a truing stand, if you notice on this truing stand, you'll see right at the bottom there's two bearing rollers. Building a truing stand is not that hard. It doesn't have to be like this. This is an old row truing stand. And God bless those guys, they were great. They're great. I used to use their guides and valves and everything, and I think they disappeared. I talked to them after the '09 crash, but they disappeared. Maybe it was COVID that finally did them. But I should have a less than 1 thou run out on each side. I don't know if you can see the gauges. I'm trying to do this so you can see the gauges. I got less than 1 thou here, and I got almost nothing on the sprocket shaft, which is what I want. Now back in the day, like this, so this shaft is forged to this flywheel, this shaft is forged to that flywheel. Back in the day, they were basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. This is what you call a 3-piece crank. So back in the day, when I put a new shaft in, then I would true that shaft to the flywheel, and then do it again. Then I'd put the flywheels together and I'd true them up. But true and used flywheels, even with a new crank pin in there, can be a real long, tedious, boring, aggravating. you can be so close to 1 thou and then miss it. What's that song? I got stoned and I missed it. Okay, so let me back this up and see if you guys can see this. So old Al Peterson, one of my really good friends and one of my mentors later in life. I mean, I'd already been doing this for a number of years. I was in my mid-30s, I think, when Al actually died. But Al came to my shop one time and he brought his truing stand. So these are just roller bearings. In fact, I got some spares here that I got from Roe before they shut down. I really want to open the bag because I want to keep them. But just some basic rollers, almost like our campfire. Ooh, it looks like I need to replace this one now. Well, all he had was a piece of metal, just from here to here to here. They were squared off. The whole thing was squared off. Almost like my my balancing unit here. My balancing stand. This is what I roll my flywheels on to. So it was kind of like just, and it was perfectly square, perfectly level. And then he had a bearing, 2 bearings on this side, 2 bearings on this side, and he would run the shafts on that. And so it works just as fine as using these pins. So it doesn't have to be elaborate. You can make your own. Easy enough. Sal comes into the shop. I was running a shop in Cowtown. And he goes, Al, he says, I don't know what's going on. You know, I get these things every time I get one flywheel trued in, you know, and then it goes out again. And it's just, I've never had this before. I've been truing, like the guy was already in his 70s, and that was over 25 years ago. That was, just call it 30 years ago. And I think it was the same year I built the Softail I'm running now. So, yeah, so, well, maybe it was just before. 30, maybe just over 30 years. But anyways, so I says, well, okay, we'll bring me the flywheels and I'll do them up for you. So he brings me his stand and his flywheels. And so he has his mic, right, for his stand and stuff. And I go on a stand and I'm running and yeah, you're getting the reading and you're getting a different reading. I'm like, hang on a second, this mic is fucked, right? So I went to the House of Tools and I found a mic, because I thought maybe it was just as high as too, but I found a mic where it was like 2.5 times as big as these. Big, easy print reading. And I set that up for him and I treat up flywheels. And so he come into the shop and I started laughing at him. What are you laughing at me for, you know? Don't laugh at me getting old. I says, I'm not. I'm laughing because this thing was all dried out inside and useless. And it was just going all over the place. It wasn't you, it was the stupid mic. And he goes, oh. I says, come check this out. And that mic, it must have been at least that big, man. I says, here you go, Al. Easy reading. I still got a picture of Al kicking around here. There's Brother Ron. I think I put in my archives. I used to have it up here in my shop, but I was doing some whatevers and so yeah. So building a truing stand, you can just run it on here, here and here. You can run it on here and here, right? And then you just want to be able to make sure that your crank's level. And that your stand is square, and that's the biggest things about that. But old flywheels can really run you around. I got some old, well, I got a couple old shovel head flywheels here, and they're getting harder to find, the old shoves. I remember I had this worn out panhead flywheel, and I thought it might work for an anchor for my boat. So I'm out on the lake. It didn't anchor shit. It just rolled with the rocks. So that one's in the deep blue sea. And now I'm thinking, geez, I should have kept that. I used to have a lot of panhead flywheels, ULH flywheels, 80-inch ULH. You know, you can on the Ironhead Sportsters and that, you can take 2 sprocket shaft ULH flywheels. No, 2 pinion shaft. And then put Sportster shafts in them, right? So we're talking 80-inch. We're talking 4 1/4 stroke, and then stroke up a Sportster. You'll never balance that. I tried once. I had more holes in the flywheels then finally I gave up, and nobody had paid me to do it or anything. And my flywheels, my time, and I looked at the guy and I said, sorry, I can't do it for you, and. I mean, I could have maybe ran them that way. One of the things, too, when you're balancing, like Harley drills on the outside of your flywheels, and it creates more crank pressure and stuff, but I don't even know if Harley actually even balances theirs even to this day, but what a lot of guys do now when you're buying cranks now, they've been kinetically balanced. That means basically the flywheels are together and they roll them at a high speed, kind of like balancing a truck tire. And so they're not available to balance on the inside, so they're drilled on the inside of the flywheels. So when I rebalance these ones, the Sillycone bike, I don't know, can you see the holes I drilled? Yeah, there we go. All right, come back. See, I drilled on the inside. I didn't want to make any more pressure, and I was very conscious of where the holes were on the outside, so I didn't start drilling through or something crazy like that. So this one here is ready for me to get these cases line board. So that's what I'm going to do next. And here's the thing about line board. I should probably save it for another video. Where's my other case? Who stole my other case? What the hell's going with my other case? Remember? Oh, there it is. Remember I had to bore out the whole 30th valve over for this reed valve breather. So anyways, if you look in the case, right, you see the bearing race. This here is the bearing race, and these actually press out. Okay, so you can actually put a new bearing race in. Go back to a standard bearing. See, that's the thing I always loved about Harley. They were designed to rebuild, not just throw the head in the garbage and put on a new head. Well, what the fuck are you supposed to do? There's no new heads, you know. And it's like a lot of these newer bikes, like BMWs and Jap bikes. They're gas hardened cylinders. Once they wear out, you throw the cylinder away. There's no sleeves, and our bikes have sleeves, so you could actually punch in a new sleeve. You know, quite simple. So I figured I was doing that before I got too excited. Start getting this going. Once I get going, like normally, making these little films actually cuts into my time of getting shit done. And so, you know, if I'm just working and just grooving and listening to the blues or whatever, just grooving away, I get a lot more done. But stopping to make the films or get myself lined up and partially doing things so I can show you guys what's the finished product and what's not, like the cylinder bases, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it all takes time and it cuts into my time. And honestly, these two got to get built. They got to get out of here. I got other projects to work on. So I phoned Tommy the other day. I haven't had a response back, so I'll just I'll do what I can, and then it's going to have to go to the side, and I have to get on to other projects. That's all I can do. All right. So next time. Oh yeah. So next time I'll show you guys the line boring process. Oh yeah. So that's what I was saying about these cases. About having a pressed in pin in bearing race. Okay, so whenever you put a new bearing race, you must, just like the cops told me, you must blow. I'm not blowing you, dude. But you must line bore this to the other case so it's completely perpendicular. Now, you can't have it off. That's like like Sportsters when you they've got 4 cams, or they got 5 runners in there, but you got your 4 cams, and when you replace the bushings in the kidney cover, I guess you call it. I'm not a real Sportster. I'm a novelist when it comes to Sportsters, as old Mo would say. But when you put in your new bushings, you can't just hone out a bushing, you need to attach it to the case and then line bore that bushing with each cam hole from the inside of the case. Otherwise you're out of line, things aren't going to fit right, and they're going to be loose, and it's just garbage. It's just garbage. So, but even though I don't have, like, and there are a number of tools for honing these out for your oversized bearings. I've got a couple here, but I'm going to use the line boring tool. The line boring tools I bought, these old school line boring tools I bought from Paco. Way back when. And they still make them, they still sell them, I'm pretty sure about that. Jim sells their version. And there's more than one way to skin a cat, of course. So I'll be doing this one too. I got the bearings just the other day, oversized, because all I had on me was 2 thou over, and I'm not going from a standard to 2 thou over. And like I say, they go up in tenths of a thou. So what did I get? I got a few sizes. Because sometimes when you hone these things out, if you go too close, then there's still old runway markings in the case itself, or in the bush. So what did I get here? I have to get out the heavy equipment for this stuff. This is the hardest part. So 6/10 of a thou, 0006, 0008. I already had 002, so I think I'm going to go half thou in the 006, and I believe that's gonna clean up that race, take up the slack. And the biggest thing about your pinion bearings is the simple fact that you get these things trued in. Like, truing is so important for vibration. But you get these things trued in, even if, say you don't balance, say you got an old set of flywheels, you put some new connecting rods in, or whatever, a new crank pin or whatever, you buy a set, you install it in your old flywheels. Don't worry too much, and if they've been balanced out before, don't worry too much about it. But truing is your optimum. And this pinion, this is like an idle bearing on the pinion, and so all your torque is on your Timken bearings. And I have a match set here that I'm putting into Tommy's. And when you buy match sets, they cost, like up here in Canuckistan, it's about 150 bucks. Never used to be. We're somewhere in there. Like, we're screwed up here. But if you take the numbers off your old ones, you can go down to the bearing shop and bearing supply or whatever, and just match them up. They're just Timken bearings. And even that's gotten outrageous up here in Canuckistan. But here's the other thing. Buddy of mine, he ordered some wheel bearings on Amazon. I says, "Oh, I got this great deal, and he paid $10 more than we would have got them through our usual purse supplier, right? And we went to a bearing shop here. It's not really it's more like a fan build shop, and they deal in some bearings. But they wanted $70 for these frickin' bearings, plus shipping. I couldn't believe it. As the mills have closed down out here in hillbilly land, and the industry is gone, as the government has bankrupted this province, and things have moved out, we had like our big parts supplier, like Ackland's. They were in our government town. It's only 10,000 people, but and then they moved down to Trail, where there is industry, but then they moved over to Cranbrook, which is an actual industrial town. Wouldn't want to live there, but it's an industrial town. So Cayman Bearings is there. See, living in the city, that's one thing you guys have, is like when I was in Cowtown, We had 3 big bearing supply. We had transmission bearing supply, BC Bearing, another outfit I used to go to. I mean, we could get like chains. We used to run chains on the rear of our bikes, and any you young fellers running shovel heads with a chain. What we used to go down to industrial supply place and get the nickel plated chain. Bulk, cheap. The nickel plated chain works as good or better than O-ring chain. I've never seen anybody break a nickel plated chain, but I have seen the O-ring chains because they're made in China. All that shit's made in, well, I imagine the nickel plated shit's made in China now too. It's, who knows, yeah. But anyways, to save money, but to have an indestructible chain back in the day, so you know, we're talking 80s and so on, we go get some, instead of spending real money on a chain at a motorcycle shop, we'd either get some Reynolds 50 weight or, and then many times I ran chain that came out of a farmer's barn when I wore mine out and she just wouldn't stay on anymore. Because they used to run chains to run their combine blades and stuff, right? This one time at band camp, me and a brother of mine, February, it's in the 80s. It was a beautiful day. We were getting a Chinook. We were in Alberta land. And we decided to go for a ride, so we rode from Edmonton to Saskatoon. We showed up at my buddy's clubhouse, and yeah, we drank for free. We closed down the clubhouse and we drank for free at the booze can. And then that morning when we were leaving the booze can about 9 a.m., so we rode there, which is 500 miles. We rode there, and man, did it get cold when the sun went down. Woo-wee. We're talking February, up in Saskatchewan. That's where they still have polar bears down south. No, they don't. But they do up north. Anyways, yeah. And so Dave comes up to me the next morning. He says, Al, because he had to go home after they closed their clubhouse. And he goes, Al, he goes, you know, you're more than welcome to crash at my place, but you might be here for a while. I says, how come? He says, because there's a snowstorm coming in from Winnipeg and it's supposed to be pretty big. So me and Jimmy looked at each other and we said, let's go. So we rode home. 30 miles out of Edmonton, that snowstorm caught us, and you know, that Christmas snow too, that big stuff. He had a 78.5 FLH first year of the 80. I had a 69 generator shovel chopper rigid 10 over adjustable wide glide with a very small headlight. His headlight burns out, we're running on mine, we got both feet on the ground, we're just sliding our way back into Edmontonian. I think we took a different route. I think we instead of taking the Yellowhead, we came back in through Wainwright in that area. Brain's a little foggy at this age, but true story. So I got this all trued, I got this all balanced. We're going to line bore those cases. What else? What else? That's going to be next. I'm going to finish doing the finish honing on my cylinders for Tommy's bike. I'm going to get him line board too, so I'm probably going to do all that tomorrow. I took my old, okay, look, I got an old 95 Ford F-150. And you know, exhaust fell off, but it is a good old truck. It's a work truck and a rust bucket, whatever. I like it. Take it down to the muffler shop. Now I wait for over a week to go in there. I tell them exactly what I want. I want you to come off the manifold, run me the way the manifold is on this one. It's got one over and an under coming off the manifold. You know. I said, yeah, I want you to run a couple of pipes, and we'll run some straight pipes down, put a couple of cherry bombs on, then curve them out in front of my tire. I couldn't believe the phone call I got today. First, it was $2,400. I said, what are you talking about? Well, we got to do and the cats. I said, there's no cats on there. I says, who am I talking to? Is this Bill? And he goes, no, this is a guy working on your truck. Okay, yeah. Then I got a little concerned. I said, no, if you go look at that, those things are just wired on with baling wire, so I could cut down the noise doing the 40 miles to get into your town, right? So I don't know. Then it went to 1,300, and then it went and then it went to 1,000, and it's like, how hard is it? Listen, man, I've had buddies that own muffler shops. I've been around. It's like, are you kidding me? These guys can't just weld some pipe on and do a couple of bends. And then they said, well, we don't have a mandrel. We have a pipe bender. We don't have a mandrel, but if we use a pipe bender, we might. And I'm like, what? You got no talent is what you got. You know, the last time I needed an exhaust, and it was on a 94, and the cats that screwed up on that, they weren't, like this one, like my whole manifold comes, and then there's cats, right? Easy peasy. On that one, the cats are on the manifold curve itself, and so that was a bitch. But side of the road, January, outside of Innisfail, Alberta, heading to Edmonton, all of a sudden the truck just doesn't want to go. I limp in there, I think it's this or that or whatever. Finally, we figured it out. I was bringing my brother up to go pick up his new car. He had bought a newer Jeep. Jeeps. The old one's cool, the new one's not so cool. So anyways, we get into this exhaust guy. He builds me a pipe. And we go for lunch. We come back 4 hours later. It cost me, I don't know what it cost me, a couple $100, maybe a few $100. And he built this thing off, and I had exhaust. And away we went. And that was way harder than what I'm asking. I'm just asking these guys to weld on some pipe and bring it over across, remember? Don't curve it in front of my wheel. Just hang it straight back. There. Yay. You know? And it's like, wow. So now my truck's down there. I got to hop on my scooter and ride down there in the morning. And it's going to be a little chilly, but whatever. It's supposed to be decent out on the way back and by, noon. And I'm going to go over to my buddy's place who's got a hoist. Actually, the guy owns the Sillycone right here. I'm just going to make my own. Fuck it. This is crazy. I don't know where the talent went. I don't know where all the tradesmen went. Where'd they go? Where the fuck did you guys go? Are we all dead now? I don't know. Anyways, I apologize for my cursing tongue. I will talk to you guys later. Keep up the good work, young fellers.